Well, we told you about that conversation we wanted to have about the new committee that has been constituted by the Ministry of Finance or government, so to speak, and it's all about regulating the forex markets, so to speak, the inflows as well, or the flow order as they call it in the industry. But we'll need to speak to some professionals relating to and some academic, and we'll get some better perspective on the subject.
Absolutely. The city, in its history, it's difficult to track a time when it appreciated in value. From before the redenomination, it was on a downward spiral. Since the redenomination, it's been on the same spiral. Year on year, the city has lost value, never gained. Discussions about why this happens, they happen every day. But now government has thrown 40 people at the problem. And today we want to understand a bit more about what is expected from them and indeed why this, according to government, is the way of solving the problem. So I guess we're ready to speak to our guest, we have Dr. Lord Mensah, am I right, on the phone? Yeah. Dr. Mensah, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Can you lift up your voice a bit? I think,
all right.
You're a bit down.
Okay, I think the team in the back are going to increase the volume so you can hear me better. Is it improved now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So, Dr. Mensah, let's start with the formation of this committee. What is your understanding of their mandate? What are they being asked to do specifically?
Yeah, I mean, the mandate is clear. They just have to investigate why, the city is behaving that way, possibly, and then recommend the way forward, how we can be able to adjust the economy to ensure that we tame, the way the city is behaving. So it's in two folds. Investigate why the city is not being stable relative to the dollar, and then to recommend, how we can tame that volatility. For me, if you ask me, the component of that committee basically is the same team that we have in managing our economy. So we have the Ministry of Finance representative, we have the Agriculture Ministry, we have the Bank of Ghana rep, we have the, hold on a minute, please. We have the,
Right, we're speaking with Dr. Lord Mensah, and he's...
Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so all those representatives from the various institutions that have been mandated to make sure that we do the right things in the economy to keep, our currency relative to the foreign currency are there. I mean, it's clear. Very few outsiders that we can see to be, not being part of the management of this economy. So I'm wondering what new would they be able to, what new things would they be able to come up with? These are people who have been mandated to manage this economy. Now, management goes with information. They know the ups and downs. They know what is happening. The data is with them. And if you are managing and you don't have enough data, I don't think you'll be able to manage very well. The Agri Minister is part of the team. He knows very well that if we diversify our exports in agriculture, we should be able to rake in more, dollars. We have the Trade and Industry Minister in there, who has also a mandate to ensure that at least we export more than we import. I mean, in terms of our, foreign transactions. The Finance Minister is there. He knows the threshold of our borrowing. He knows the interest rate that we service. I mean, you can. I don't think there will be anything new coming out of this committee. So, for me, the mandate, the people who have been mandated to manage this economy, they are all part of the team. And I'm wondering what new thing they'll be able to come up with as far as this exercise is concerned. So, if you ask me, I would say the committee wasn't necessary. The economy fundamentally needs to be restructured. I mean, devoid of party manifesto or whatever. We should have a national agenda as to how we can reorient this economy. I mean, we shouldn't look at it as if one party comes and then he's doing his own thing, another party comes. So, I mean, clearly, it's not necessary. We just have to make sure that we do the right thing as a country.
Okay. Now, the Bank of Ghana traditionally has the responsibility of managing our foreign exchange. Do you see the creation of this committee as an infringement on the autonomy and independence of the Bank of Ghana, or not?
Well, clearly, the Bank of Ghana has been given the mandate. That's why I mentioned earlier that, look, all the people, all the institutions that are to ensure that the country have a stabilized currency are all part of this, the committee. And effectively, it tells you that maybe Bank of Ghana is not up to the task. That is why we have to set aside a committee to look into why the city is behaving this way. So for me, I think it's a hit on the face of Bank of Ghana if committees should be set aside while they are being paid by the taxpayers' money.
What about the terms of reference? As you referred to them, you suggest that they are to first of all find out why our city is underperforming, and then to recommend solutions. Now, you pointed out that the people who are constituting this committee are the people whose daily job it is to do exactly that. But beyond that, the thing they are supposed to find out, that answer to the question, why is our city depreciating? Is that actually a mystery? Does it require investigation, or is it already known?
It's fundamental. A country, you know very well that you are importing more than you export. The country, you know very well that your debt level has gotten to a threshold where, your interest payment alone, is in itself is a huge blow. So anytime you're going to pay interest, obviously you should know that you are going to reduce your dollar buffer. And so a country that appetite for outside product is on high, definitely is going to affect your dollar buffer. So what are you doing on a daily basis in terms of your management? In fact, people have been tasked to manage this country. A great minister knows very well that to a point that we've been consuming rice to a certain threshold. If we are to reduce rice import by even 50%, it has a way of saving our currency. And if we are to diversify our export, he knows very well that it will have impact on our foreign currency. All the individuals who are part of the committee knows very well. It's part of their day-to-day mandate to ensure that they keep the city stable. And so if it's not being stabilized, for me, I don't see it to be necessary to have a committee to investigate that.
But then, Dr. Mensah, let me also point out the obvious, that in spite of the fact that we know the causes of our depreciating city, we have not been able to solve the problem. We have not been able to turn back the tide. So is it not necessary for some people to apply their brains to that problem, to find out why we are unable, in spite of knowing the cause, why we are unable to do what it takes? For example, why are we unable to reduce import of rice by 50%? Why are we unable to reduce the outflows of foreign currency from our economy? Why are we unable to do what it takes to strengthen our city?
Well, if you ask me, I would tell you that with all the policies that are being rolled out, right, by government upon government, clearly we are on course to make sure that we hold our city. So my question would be the speed. Because if you look at the policies that are being rolled by the administration, clearly you can see agriculture sector, we're ensuring that, and even recently, we're getting to the Christmas, there was a campaign that consumed what? Ghana rice, and it took over all the entire country. So if you look at all the policies that we are rolling out, I mean, clearly, it gives you the signal that we are on course. We're supposed to, I mean, gradually get to a level where our city will be tamed. But then what is happening that I think we're not getting the things right is the the sacrifice that we need to do as a country. As a country, we don't necessarily have to create a huge deficit when we read our budget. I always say that once we create a deficit, it's a business for somebody. Now, financing that deficit means that you need to go and borrow. And that is where I have problems. Why can't we, as a country, for heaven's sake, maybe a particular fiscal year, we say that, okay, fine, this time we're going to close the gap between our expenditure and then what we generate, so that, we'll be conservative in terms of, we've been aggressive for some time now, and it's not yielding. This keeps on, derailing our economy, pushing us to a point where we have to sacrifice a lot of dollars in paying interest that as a result of debt that we've accrued. So if we tend to assume the conservative nature of managing our economy, I think we should be able to solve this problem.
Right. Now, you say we're on course, but the truth is that the value of the city still keeps falling. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Bretton Woods institutions are playing a role here in the continuous loss of value of our currency? Because, you see, they often advise us on, after giving us money, they advise us on which investors to work with, which countries to work with. And these are investors and countries that will come here and do what they want, but then take away their foreign currency at the end of the process, which also affects the value of our city. So do you see a certain role here that the Bretton Woods institutions have been playing, which is not helping our currency?
I don't see any role they're playing. You are managing your economy. If you think Bretton Woods institution they are giving you money into a project that you think is not viable, taking into consideration foreign exchange risk and all those, I don't think it will be advisable to go in there. Nobody's forcing you to take money from anywhere. So effectively, adapt the conservative nature, and you should be able to solve this problem I'm talking about.
Right. Well, we just went for $570 million. So do you still think we're going in the right direction, as you suggested earlier?
You see, we have appetite for getting money into our fold as a country. But when the money gets here, the usage of the money becomes a problem as a result of the leakages and all those issues that we have in terms of tracking funds that comes. If you do analysis and you look at funds that comes into this country and then how it ends up into projects, you realize that there's a huge mismatch. Effectively, I would say that we should reduce. Like you are telling me, we just went for 500 million. Should I say whether it's bad or not? It's a way of ensuring, it's part of the package that we went for earlier. But then in the end, ensuring money that are coming into your fold, I think, as a country, like for instance, the government is planning of going to the Eurobond market. The timing might be wrong at this time. Because if you go there, you're going to get high interest rates. Things are not okay. Looking at the in-house and looking at the global market, in putting the global market into a bigger picture, you realize that the timing is wrong. Effectively, it's an election year. Anybody that is giving you money at this time knows the risk that locally is likely to face. So you're going to accrue higher interest rate payment when you go to the market at this time. Now, the timing is wrong, effectively. So I would say that it's about time, as a country, we adapt that conserved nature in managing our economy. And that I think that will be able to, keep us going. We shouldn't be aggressive so much. Fine, we yearn for growth, but we can slow down the growth and then see what will happen to our currency management.
Roland Walker here, sir. And if you take many of the captions, including ours, of course, after that inauguration of the committee, and you look at the terms of reference of the committee, was the media wrong then in trying to caption it to say that the committee has been formed to regulate the depreciation of the cedi, so to speak?
Well, I wouldn't. That committee is not supposed to regulate the cedi. As your title page indicates, I mean, you have capped it. Government established a committee to regulate demand and supply of foreign currency. I think the mandate was to ensure that, they come up with solutions to why the cedi is not being stabilized. And maybe that would be a recommendation that the Bank of Ghana would take it up from there. But my question is, what were they doing in terms of management of the currency all this while?
Now, in coming to some of the real issues as to what the inflows are, how they tend to move in terms of the movement of the forex in our market itself, and how they also have the influx. There's the pointer about how the Bank of Ghana would then have to give this forex to the banks, but ultimately you get to find out for those who would need it, whether it's freight forwarders or those who do the importation or the exportation, they find it in the hands of the black market. Now, how does it get into the hands of black marketers in the first place, when we know that ideally we should go to a bank, and if we request for it up to the minute, we should be able to get it?
Yeah, I mean, you cannot take out the black market from the economic cycles when it comes to funds flow. Anywhere there's a possibility of profit venture, I mean, money will sink to that environment. Now, if you look at the structure of Bank of Ghana, there is a fine thin line between how information flows from the regulated market, which i.e., the Bank of Ghana through the banks, and then to the Bank of Ghana, to the black market. Now, where is the black market located? Who is regulating them? Have they been identified and registered? That is the problem. If you have a forex group, how many forex groups are you supposed to have as a subsidiary to this forex group? Those are all things that we need to put them into perspective, for us to solve that problem of money moving from the regulated environment to the unregulated environment. So, for me, we are in a system. We are in interconnectivity as far as information flow is concerned. People knows when the dollar buffer in this country is going down at each point in time, and people knows when they can get money to the black market, so that at the point they get it low, and then in the next 2 days, 3 days, they sell it high. Of course, Bank of Ghana is doing well by even establishing this forward market and all those. But if we don't take the activities of insiders, let me, stress on this, the insiders who are working with the regulated environment, who leak information in terms of funds and in terms of, message as to how our buffer of the dollar is going to the black market, we will never solve this problem.
And so you get to find out as part of a component of what the committee's composition is. We even have those who are trading in forex, so to speak, not the banks also.
Yeah, those are regulated.
Okay, and then the unregulated ones, so to speak, let's say the Alhajis,
they are not there. Did you see anybody there who is part of them?
Well, ideally, we're supposed to have some representatives from there, and then they would have that linkage, so that regulation from the regulated forex market could also be transitioning to the unregulated forex market. How can this committee help in that regard?
Well, unless maybe the person who is representing the forex bills as part of the committee knows exactly and how many forex bills from each center and then their subsidiaries will be. There was a statement I made some time ago as to the formation of subsidiaries of this forex group. One forex group can have about 6, subsidiaries, and each point in time that you transfer the dollar to one point, there's a spread or there's a margin that needs to be benefited on. Do they know the cap as we speak now? If that environment is regulated, then that rep can easily have control in terms of, how the dollar is moving or the spreads that are being accrued as the dollar transitions from one point to the other within their space.
On the broader context of what the conversation is, we've also seen that the political actors, including some of those commentators on the economy, taking advantage of this committee's composition to say that government does not have a tap on how to regulate the forex market and then also the economy. And that has a certain relation to how the CD could be appreciating or depreciating against the major international currencies. Should that be the case?
Well, if you ask me, as a country, the first time we shot our foot, was when we started playing, politics with the economic numbers, including the exchange rate. Now, if you look at the rate of depreciation of the city in the 90s, early 2000s, compared to these times that we find ourselves, you realize that since the political jargon started coming in relation to our forex, we've seen a huge depreciation. You can go and do a bit of research to see how the numbers stand. And clearly, it tells you that we're not supposed to play with, play politics with our, economic numbers. It's something that we have to be careful, because you create panic in the economy unnecessarily. And when it happens like that, people get disappointed in the whole structure. And if people get disappointed in the whole economic management structure, all that they do is that, let me save my dollars. And I think that's the cause of some of these problems.
Right, Dr. Mensah, Kojo here again. And the Gold Street Business reports that one of the strategies the Bank of Ghana is considering in 2020 is to increase its gold reserves. In times of volatile currency, gold is seen as a safe haven. In Ghana's situation, will that have much impact on the spiraling value of our currency? Will it be a good move to move into gold?
Yeah, if you move into gold, then it depends on the confidence that people have in gold, and at the same time, the global market price of gold. Remember, gold has been a safe haven for most investments. So if we think, okay, fine, if people's funds, if they feel more safer with a dollar, that is why they are purchasing dollar, or possibly that is why, the dollar is not having its feet as, the CD is not having its feet as supposed related to the dollar. Then I would say it depends on the confidence that, people have in gold. But let's be clear here. Investors or whoever needs the dollar is going to switch between the dollar and then the gold. If at the end of the day, he knows very well that the gold is more a safe haven than the city. So having a gold reserve does not necessarily mean that you've completely controlled your currency. The fundamental is correct. What you have to do is that make sure you restructure your economy, diversify your export, reduce your import, ensure that the basic things that we can generate or we can produce on those countries, we have them up to, let's say, 70%, and we should be able to solve this issue.
Right. Well, I want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Lord Mensah, for your time with us. We appreciate it very much. Dr. Lord Mensah is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. And, well, Roland, yeah, he's of the view that, look, these are the same people whose day jobs are to manage the FX of this nation and the currency value and so forth. So why bring them together in a special committee to do what they do on a daily basis anyway? But, I mean, we've had interministerial committees to deal with issues that fall under the remit of those specific ministries. And, well, the president did say we have the men. So if he decides to throw 40 of them at our currency, is that a bad move?
Well, it's not really a bad move, knowing that if you take a look at this, it has some continuous representation from other groups like GUTA, and they have their members or their membership grossly involved in the use of hard cash, not ours, but the Forex itself in doing their trade. And they are supposed to intermittently give some sort of information about what should be coming in at which point in time, which areas they are moving to, and how that fits into overall regulation and policy in that direction?